So here we are at Burnt Mill School in Harlow, chatting to some of the students about how they or their families arrived in Harlow. I'm Trudy Harper, and this is
Jennifer Beale, Layla Locke-Edwards,
Liam Hearn,
Sally Mumby,
Zoe Endine,
Joseph Clark,
Lily Drain,
Marley James,
Ellie Booth,
Kane Marks,
Chloe Longhurst,
Fran Dawson.
Grace Haynes.
Right, well perhaps you could start it off. Is anybody new to Harlow? Have they moved here during their own childhood that they can remember?
I have. I moved here when I was 5 years old due to it being closer to London, because before I moved to Harlow I lived in Plymouth, and my mum got a job in London, and due to it being quite close, like on the outskirts of London, we decided to move here.
Okay, and can you remember living in Plymouth quite clearly?
Yeah, I remember my primary school in Plymouth called St James, and I went there till I was about 4, I think, and then I moved up here.
And did you find great changes coming to Harlow?
I can't really remember the changes, but a lot of the sites and like I don't want to say culture, but the I don't know what the word is, was quite different. Like the architecture, I don't know, it's quite different.
Is that, do you think, because it's a new town?
I think it's because one, it's a sculpture town, so there's like different statues, and because Plymouth was by the sea, so it's quite a different area to move to.
Oh, thank you. That's really, really interesting. And how about anybody else? How do you know how you came to grow up in Harlow? Was it your mum, your dad that moved here, or your grandparents?
My grandparents on my dad's side moved in 1953 to Harlow because my granddad got a job at a house working as a supermarket manager.
It's very interesting. Where did they live before?
I don't know, sorry.
Okay. So it's your father's parents that
Yeah.
moved here, and your father, did he meet a lady from Harlow?
She's not from Harlow, but they still live here now, so.
Right, and you've lived here all your life?
Yeah.
Anybody else?
My grandparents on my mum's side, my granddad is from Leicester, and he met my nan whilst they still live in Leicester, and then he was a youth worker, so he got a job down here in Harlow, so that's where they moved.
So many of you have come here for work. Does anybody know whether their grandparents or even their older than that came here because of the bombings in the East End of London?
went here after the war because their houses got bombed, so
And stayed?
yeah.
And stayed. And have any of you got older brothers and sisters that have settled here in Harlow after they've gone through school or been off to university or college and come back? Now, do you see yourselves perhaps going off to college or going off to explore a little, but do you see yourselves coming back to settle in Harlow? Is it very dear to you?
I personally enjoy the idea of an endeavour such as university, and I understand the massive changes that it would involve. You know, for example, if I was going to go to university, best case scenario in Cambridge, per se, then I'd have to relocate somewhere around the area. Upon my return to Harlow, depending on the economy of the houses and the prices that I might have to pay to live here, then I would consider it as an option. I do know that if I went to study at a university, then I could possibly earn myself a job at a renowned position in London. However, the pricing of housing in London is extremely high, and I don't know if I'll be able to keep up with the ever-changing rates.
Okay. What about socially? What does Harlow do for you socially? What do you all do? Do you cinema? Do you sport? What do you do in Harlow? What's here for you?
You can be honest, just kind of whatever you...
So you all go home and just sit at home? Nobody goes for a run? Tennis? Rugby? What do you do, my love?
I do basketball.
Basketball, here in Harlow?
Yeah.
And is it an active?
Yeah.
No.
I do Harlow Hawks. It's been there for quite a while now. My uncles went there before I did.
Well, that's very interesting. Do your family talk about how facilities and things have grown in Harlow? How it's better for you than it was for them?
Yeah, like the schools have definitely improved from when my uncles came here. This school actually, like it wasn't like the best when they came, and now it's like really, really improved.
And what about, you presumably all got friends from other schools as well. What do they do? What do they do for hobbies? Drama, I think, is quite...
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I've got a friend in the same year as me who goes to Mark Hall, and we both go to the same drama school outside. It's in Old Harlow, St Nick's, and that's what I do.
That's lovely. Do you put on productions?
Yeah, we do. We're at the Victoria Theatre in Old Harlow.
That's really good. That's fun. Yeah. Do you think that Harlow looks after its young people?
Yeah, I think they do. Like the ever-changing town centre, for example, has got very different activities that they offer up there, like bowling, swimming, and and it keeps like people out of like the youth out of trouble. Like, because I know if like I didn't have all these different leisure activities and different things to do, then who knows what I'd be up to.
Does anybody use the skate park at all? Not very much. Okay.
You've always fancied a skate park,
I
haven't
do,
you?
yeah.
Now you are all doing history. Now I know that the history GCSE course is quite formal and quite rigid, so you don't have time to go outside it. But I don't know, do the school do any local history? Do your parents have any interest in local history? Do you go to the museum? Is there anything in Harlow that tickles your fancy?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have traditionally taught some history of Harlow, not a great deal, but some in Year 7 as a way of introducing pupils to historical skills. So everyone here would have done at least a few lessons of it in Year 7. But we're hoping moving forward that in all primary schools within our trust and within Burtmill itself as well, that pupils will have a greater opportunity to explore local history. You mentioned the museum, which is a great resource, and it's not used enough by schools, so we're hoping as well that we can forge links with them and make sure that's more of a part of the curriculum.
Well, my parents were born in Harlow, but my dad's parents, like my dad, was born in America. So my dad moved to Harlow because my dad's dad got a job here. I don't know, I can't remember what it was, but they got a job here. And then that's where he met my mum, in Harlow.
And whereabouts in America was your grandparents from?
Miami, I think.
And what about your mum?
My mum originally, well, she's moved around a lot. She was born in Kent and then later on lived in Stortford and then moved here and has stayed here since because of being married.
So you're very much a Harlow family.
Yeah.
What about you, sir?
I don't know.
You don't know? But have you lived in Harlow all your life?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you don't know whether mum and dad have?
No.
No. What about grandparents? Are they local?
Yeah.
In Harlow? So chances are they probably are a Harlow family. Yeah? Like you?
My mum's side of the family moved down from Cardiff, but my dad's side lived in London and they come closer to be other people in my family.
So you already had family in Harlow?
Yeah, so.
Yeah. So they came to join people who were already living here. That's interesting. We know you came from Plymouth.
Yeah, my nan and granddad moved from Leicester just after they got married because my granddad got a job as a youth worker, and then when my mum got married to my dad in 1999, the rest of my nan and granddad's family moved down, like my great nan and granddad.
Lovely. And how many have you still got in Harlow now?
Quite a lot. My great granddad passed about 5 years ago, but my great nan's still here, and so is my grandparents and my aunts and cousins. Very big family.
So can you see yourself coming back to live here or staying in Harlow?
I don't think I'll move far, but maybe not Harlow, because I wouldn't want to move too far away from the family because they're all based around here, but maybe somewhere just a little bit further.
So from being a new town, which Harlow was when it started, there is a great sense of family and community and people living here and having their families here.
My mum was born here in the late 60s and my dad moved down here in the early 90s after leaving the army, but that's funny.
Okay, so you don't know how your mum's family came to be here? She was born here? No. But are grandma and granddad, are they still in Harlow?
No, they're not local. They live in Norfolk now.
They live in Norfolk now. They presumably did live in Harlow, though?
Yeah. I don't know where they were from before moving to Harlow.
So is it your mum and dad that are from Harlow? or-
My dad was born in Harlow and my mum moved to Harlow because they bought a house together.
My dad's side of the family, his parents were born in Zimbabwe, but they came here to go to school, to go to uni, and then after 5 years they went back. And then in 2000, my grandma came down with her 3 sons, and then my mum joined them as well to look for work.
In Harlow?
Yeah.
Do you know why they chose Harlow? Was it because there was work here?
My grandma has lots of friends here, and they told her it was a good town and they needed a fresh start, so they thought Harlow was a good place.
So you've got quite a lot of family here.
Yeah.
That's cool. And
Sensibly.
yeah.
So on my dad's side of the family, they live in Ongar. I'm not sure about the great-grandparent side of it, but my granddad and nan on that side of the family all live in Ongar. My dad grew up in Ongar. He found work in Stortford, but I'm not sure the reasons why, but he did buy a house in Harlow after meeting my mother. And on her side of the family, it goes back to the great-grandparents who originate from Norfolk around the times of World War II. And by trade, he used to ride around on a horse and like be a market man to the film stars at the time. My nan then chose to break the tradition of moving around Norfolk like the rest of her family did, and she came to Harlow because of the good housing. She also worked on the tube, and because Harlow was one of the locations greatly involved with her career, she met my grandfather. They're still together, and they purchased a house in Harlow. They were very cheap prices back then.
I'm not entirely sure where my great-grandparents lived before they came here, but they came here because my great-granddad Bert started to build houses here.
So he was involved in the trade of growing the town?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they all stayed?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
My mum was born in Manchester, but they moved here because my granddad got a job as the manager of the Harvey Centre. So he had that for like a number of years, and then they decided to stay because they really liked like the surroundings and what Harlow had to offer. So yeah.
I'll do as well.
Yes, of course.
So on my mum's side of the family, her parents moved to Harlow from East and North London because my granddad was involved in the building trade and wanted or found work in the quickly growing town. And on my dad's side of the family, his parents moved to Harlow because his dad was a church minister and was appointed one of the first ministers of the new church that's been built, and so came over as a result from originally Coventry but via Beaconsfield.
And what about yourself? Were you educated in Harlow?
Born and bred, yeah, here in
But you
Birmingham.
presumably went off to university or to college
I
somewhere?
did, yeah. As with some of the pupils who have said they're kind of keen to move out, I had the same attitude at the time, but
Yeah.
quickly found actually that Harlow had a lot to offer in terms of its location and also the fact I still had family here, so I was keen to move back.
So did you come straight back after college?
Not straight back, but fairly quickly back after a couple of years.
Yeah. And now you're here to stay?
Here to stay, yeah.
Yeah. There's some shopping.
Yeah, we have really good shopping facilities, and especially now we're getting like a lot more new shops coming in.
So very good TK Maxx.
I do love
I go
TK
there.
Maxx. Yeah, and we've got 2 cinemas now. There's a new one in the Harvey Centre, so it's really convenient because you can go shop and then go watch a film. That's
Yeah.
what I tend to do every weekend.
That's good. Yeah, and that's here for you. You haven't got to travel for that. Where my kids grew up, they had to travel for 30 minutes to get to a cinema.
Weekends,
That's
on
great.
Sundays, I have my PQA Pauline Quirk Academy because I'm into drama and I want to do it as a career when I'm older. And then after that, I tend to go to the gym. It's quite helpful because PQA is at the Playhouse, Harlow Playhouse.
Yeah.
And then the gym I go to, Exercise for Less, which is just recently opened, is in town as well, so it's quite handy.
Just by the bus station?
Yeah, and then I spend my Sunday evenings at the gym, a couple of hours, and then I walk home. That's my Sunday.
I was just going to say, like, whilst a lot of new things has been opening, it's more or less kind of the same. Like, whilst there is a new cinema and it is convenient, doing the same thing on the weekends can be a bit boring because, like, in Harlow, whilst there are like clubs and like stuff for like drama and like going to the gym to do, like more social things. Like whilst you can go to the town, there's only so many times you can go to the town before getting bored, and obviously like
running out of money.
Yeah, exactly, that's what I was about to say. Like obviously you can go to the town, but you need the money if you're going to go shopping and for food and stuff like that.
Can I ask, just, you know, from that word, we're talking about why I said what made me move. I can remember in January 1981, my second A-level English paper, looking out the window and saying, I have to get out of this place. If I don't, I will die. All right? And so that's part of history, you know, part of our thing saying, make no bones about it, that's how I felt. And, you know, and as soon as I got those 3 A-levels, you know, vroom, straight up, 400 miles north. You know, not to be seen, well, once a year, but 25 years. You know, so if we're being honest about the history, why they came here, why they stayed, is anybody here who says, oh, I just want to get out of here? Now we're talking. All right? Okay, so, you know, that's part of this. This is not a sort of photoshopping Harlow in that way. So, let's go.
And that's a really normal thing.
Yeah.
Young people are 15 and 16. In fact, I'd be more worried if you all said, actually, I'm going to start my Saturday job and start saving from a deposit on the house. Because you should actually be running.
I was absolutely determined I would never come back.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's go from the hands that went up, yeah.
I just feel like there's not enough to experience here, and repeating the same things, like Lily said, can get quite boring. So I feel like once I have my A-levels, I feel like I need to go out to gain new experiences and then maybe come back when I'm a bit older, but I definitely need to leave at one point.
Yes. What about Harlow for younger people than you? Harlow for up to 12-year-olds. Is there a lot for them to do, perhaps? And perhaps that's what the community's like. It's the family community rather than the young person's community.
There is definitely quite a lot of like clubs for younger children, and normally run through the school. But I still feel like there's not enough to do. Young children do need to be watched and supervised and stuff. But I still don't feel like there is quite enough being done.
Can we back to more people who put their hands up regarding why they want to get out of here as soon as possible? You know, because that's really part. You know, we want to look back on this, etc. Yeah.
Lily, do you want?
I think Liam wanted to go.
If you're going to talk sensibly, Liam, sensibly, not so far.
So to be brutally honest, I don't think Harlow has really anything to offer for the young people apart from the facilities such as the leisure zone and the cinemas. I think it's too industrialised. I think there's 4 McDonald's in the town. There's about 3 Tesco's. There's a lot of supermarkets. I think the town centre, to be honest, is not great. I think that travelling out to places such as London, that's not too far away because of the train station. We've got Bishop Stortford, that's not too far away. I think the shops in Harlow really are bad. Quite a lot of them are closing down, such as British Home Stores. There are a lot of the shops that have relocated from the town centre. And I think if you want to do some actually decent quality shopping, the only shops, there's only about 3 shops that you can go to. There's not a lot to offer up the town.
Well, I don't really want to stay in Harlow because once you pass your GCSEs, a lot more opportunities open up. So I don't even know what I want to do yet.
Would you consider going and doing your A-levels out of Harlow?
Yeah. I'm gonna go to Hertford College. That's not in Harlow.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be living with my dad for a little while. So I'll be out of Harlow for a good 3 years.
Experiences.
Yeah.
Good luck. Anyone else? Who else is on the move?
My grandparents, well, my grandma now, lives in Bath, over by Bristol, and once I finish my A-levels and stuff, I'd like to go live in Bath because there's some beautiful houses over there, and you know, and maybe get a job over there and then expand from there, because just to spend some more time with my grandma, you know, and my mum and stepdad want to move up there as well and get a house up there, so yeah.
New horizons.
Mm.
Anyone else moving on? Anyone moving after GCSEs? No.
I was agreeing what Jen was saying, after doing my A-levels and everything and then going to university, I'd like to go to a university that's not near Harlow so I can...
So you don't live at home?
Yeah, I'd like to,
new
like Jen was
independence.
saying, go get new experiences and live out in the world, because if I've got nothing against living at home whilst going to uni, but personally I'd like to have independence for a while. But like Liam was saying earlier, Harlow is very much the family-based town, so I could maybe see myself coming back at the end, towards the end of my youth. kind of thing. Because I've got a lot of family here. Like I've got my mum's family, my dad's family, and like my stepmom's family, all of them in Harlow.
Harlow's given you a springboard.
Yeah.
A springboard to go out and explore, and then maybe spring back.
Is it hard to relate? You know, I'm talking about people who moved here in 1947 or 1957, or even I bounced 1981 around. You know, is it hard to relate these dates? And when I think about history, do you think I don't really get it, and I don't really care? You know, it's okay. You know, in history, sort of thing. Is it hard to relate to, or interested where your grandparents or great parents or parents have come from? Are you more like living in the now? And is that what it's all about? Liam?
Personally, I wouldn't say I exactly find the town's history interesting in the slightest. But that's.
What about your parents and your grandparents' history? You know, are you that interested, or are you just too young at the moment?
Well, I think occasionally I do get told stories about what they used to do and their endeavours in the past, but after hearing the story so many times and it just seems to be the same thing over and over again, it's just gotten to the point where I don't really care anymore.
70 years ago, because we needed housing. Now that provided work for people, as many of your relatives came. It came here and gave them work, and then they've grown up and the communities have now grown. But how does that feel? Does that feel strange, or do you just take it for granted? Because after all, it's been here all your life, so does it matter that it hasn't been here the 500 years of the town up the road?
But it's still, I mean,
And
it's still got an incredible history dating all the way back to the Romans, and we have, you know, the temple, or the leftovers of it in Temple Field, which archaeologists suggest is an incredibly important site for various different reasons. We've got the name itself might be Roman or Saxon in origin. We've got a deserted medieval village over in the old town. We've got the parishes that make up the town itself. I mean, that the history of the town itself is incredibly rich.
It is.
From 1947, you're right. As a new town, it becomes that town. But the history of it is far richer than just 1947, and that's it for nothing.
But perhaps in a way, it's evolved differently, hasn't it? It's evolved differently. And does that make a difference to you? You wouldn't. But would some of you? Or St Albans, or all those places round you where you've probably been taken on school trips. I can guarantee that when you did the Romans, you probably went further afield than Harlow to explore the Roman ruins.
I think the fact that we live here is just kind of where we live. We don't really think of it as anywhere else. Like, we just think of the town as the town, not what was there 100 years ago.
Do you not find it odd though that sometimes, like, if you wander around other towns, you come across occasionally a really old building, whereas when you're wandering around Harlow, you barely ever come across any building that's kind of before the 1940s. Yeah, you can go from one end of the town to the other and not come across anything that is older than 1947. Is that weird compared to when you go to other towns?
Yeah.
Does it register in your mind at all?
Do you know anybody interesting that you've met in Harlow? You think that was an interesting person I once met? How old are you? 15?
Oh.
15, 16. You think he was interesting, she was interesting, they were interesting.
Big nasty.
Big nasty.
Not even joking. At Tesco.
Say who he is.
He is a famous UK rapper who featured in the song Baseline Drops, I think that's what it's called, featuring Craig David. And he also has his own TV show on BBC Three. And to see him up Tesco just doing his everyday thing, it's quite interesting because you know that like Harlow is also a place for celebrities, and that's quite I live here, not celebrities. Well,
So is anyone following Strictly?
Yeah.
You have a celebrity on there, don't you? Hmm?
He lives around the corner from me.
Does he?
Because I live in Old Harlow.
You live in Old Harlow.
One from EastEnders.
Oh, does he live in Harlow?
Yeah. There you go.
He goes to school with Mr. Bradbury.
No way.
Mr. Bradbury's daughter. Not Mr.
Let's not bring it back.
But you've got in the hall, you've got the alumni thing that's got all people that came to Burnt Mill who are now famous in some degree or other.
Your name's up.
Kevin Adams. I used to go to his academy. Andrew Osagi.
What's the footballer?
Yeah.
Glenn Hoddle.
Glenn.
We hope to come back in 2022 and even possibly 2047. I'll be 85, but same age as Clint Eastwood is, and he's still directing movies.
Probably still need a driver.
I probably need a driver still, yeah. Two broken toes in case you want. Where do you hope to be in 10 years? Say 10 years. In conclusion, 10 years, we'll come back, say we did then. What would you hope is happening to you? Well, you're 15, aren't you?
Yeah.
15?
16.
16. Oh, do apologise. 26 years of age. You're just past your quarter of a century. Where do you hope to be then? Not only professionally, but in yourselves, etc. In conclusion. Shout out.
Oh, I know where I want to be.
Yeah.
I want to be on the big screen. You know, in cinemas. Marley James, big actor, known worldwide, household name. You know.
You best get interested in her neighbour.
And although people are laughing, the answer is why not, isn't there?
Yeah. I think I have the drive, determination, passion. Like, I've already done little bits and bobs. It's just getting there, which is the hard bit. And I think once I'm there, I think hopefully my raw talent and good looks will push me up to the top. I'm joking, I'm not that vain.
Anybody else before? Because that's a nice conclusion. Yes, young lady.
On 10 years, I hope to be more confident and be able to find myself. I want to do music and I want to be more behind the scenes. So I hope that I'll be able to come back. I would like to come back home in a few years' time because Harlow is really a safe place for me. So I'd like to come back and probably teach music here.